How to Pay for the Green New Deal by Yeva Nersisyan and Randall Wray. Real Resources and Inflation, or Affordability, the MMT approach. Moving forward, the most important question concerns the resources we can make available. There is some danger of inflation, not because of the manner in which the Green New Deal will be financed, but because of potential pressure on resources. Can we constrain the inflation pressures as we implement Green New Deal projects? The more sensible critics of MMT accept the argument that we can financially afford the Green New Deal, but insist we need to raise taxes more or less in line with spending to avoid causing inflation. They go on to assert that increasing spending without raising taxes is a particularly dangerous practice, as it injects excess money into the economy that will cause inflation. For instance, Brad DeLong has argued that it is unreasonable to believe that, quote, the U.S. can have Swedish levels of government spending without Swedish levels of taxation, end quote. Footnote 2. See Wray 2019. DeLong is wrong. American workers already pay Northern European levels of taxation if you use an inclusive measure. All the mandatory deductions from American paychecks, pensions and health insurance, including the Obamacare mandates, called non-tax compulsory payments, or NTCPs, add up to a greater burden than what our rich peer countries' workers pay. For comparison purposes, Canadian workers pay an effective tax rate, including NTCPs, of just 11.5%. In Denmark, they pay 26.7%. In Norway, 32.4%. In Sweden, 38.3%. And in the U.S., a whopping 43.2%. Brunig, 2019. In sum, we already pay higher taxes than the Swedes. We just don't call them taxes, even though they are as mandatory as Swedish taxes. Take-home pay of Americans is already below that of Swedes, which is obvious to anyone who travels to Northern Europe to envy the standard of living we do not enjoy. End footnote. This position presumes that, first, implementing the Green New Deal will lead to a large increase in the demand for resources, and second, that raising taxes is the best way to relieve pressure on demand. We believe that those arguing for tax hikes have not carefully assessed the inflation potential of the Green New Deal. Indeed, there has been no analysis study of the Green New Deal that looks at resource demands and savings. Those arguing for tax increases have little basis for making such claims, as they have summed the dollar estimates of costs of proposed Green New Deal programs and presumed this equates to additional government spending that requires taxes to pay for it. As we will demonstrate, whether or not we need tax hikes depends on the net increase of demand on the nation's resources arising from implementation of the Green New Deal project, and not on some scary prediction of trillions of dollars of government red ink. It is not a foregone conclusion that the net increase will be beyond our capacities. First, we have substantial unused capacity. Second, the Green New Deal will in many areas reorient resource use, cutting environmentally and socially destructive uses of resources and shifting them to better use. Third, we will, all along the way, increase capacity. If we tackle climate change as the moral equivalent of war, and if this really does take us to the beyond full employment of resources, we can adopt measures to counter inflation pressure. No one has a vested interest in high inflation, in spite of what the inflation worriers want us to believe. Knowing that is the real danger. We can formulate a strategy to prevent it. We can work together to put all our resources into the effort without stoking inflation. This will be difficult, but we have done it before. World War II was our first major war that was not accompanied by high inflation. That provides some guidance. In addition, Keynes's How to Pay for the War provides a plan for action. So the real question is this: how can we reduce private resource use to release resources to be used in the Green New Deal efforts in order to avoid competitive bidding up of prices that results in inflation? And, more specifically, how can we move the appropriate quantity and types of resources to the Green New Deal?